Recap Tales of Herding Gods, Chapter 5 and 41, Chapter Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Jehwali bore Zhang Yi's lifeless body upon his shoulders, his steps steady as he followed behind Fu Riluo like a silent shadow. As he passed by Qinmu, he turned his head, his gaze sweeping over him like a cold wind. Qinmu was immersed in pill refinement, yet he did not neglect courtesy. He hastily inclined his head. Senior brother Jehwali, let us meet again if fate allows. With a face devoid of emotion, Jehwali departed alongside Fu Riluo, vanishing like drifting clouds beyond the horizon. The black tiger god leaped down from the palace, landing with a dull thud. His fierce gaze first swept over Qinmu, then shifted toward Saint Woodcutter. His enormous battle axe had long been stowed away, and now his attention was wholly fixed upon Qinmu's intricate hand techniques as he refined pills. Observing each movement with quiet intensity, the other gods descended one after another, gathering around like a congregation beneath the heavens. Each of them harbored words unspoken, questions innumerable, yet all restrained themselves. Before Saint Woodcutter spoke, not a single one dared to break the silence. God Sangye hastily pulled Sanghua to his side. Though he wished to scold his daughter harshly, the oppressive stillness bound his tongue. It was not his place to disrupt the solemn atmosphere. At this moment, Qinmu had entered the most crucial stage of refining his spirit pills. His mind was like still water, devoid of stray thoughts. He paid no heed to the crowd around him, yet under the collective gaze of so many gods, even he felt a subtle pressure descend. Beads of sweat gathered upon his forehead, glistening like morning dew. After a short while, Qinmu completed the refinement of the spirit pills. With gentle force, he crushed them into powder, then fetched water and dissolved the essence. Carefully, he dripped the solution into Yu Hei and Shu Yao's eyes and ears. He observed closely as the membranes of their eyes and the drums of their ears regenerated, then frowned slightly. Reaching into his Tao-Ti sack, he retrieved several herbs and swiftly concocted an ointment, applying it with meticulous care to their injured areas. Why administer medicine twice? Saint Woodcutter asked, his tone carrying faint curiosity. The first was to restore their eye membranes and eardrums, but the second carries a trace of toxicity. What is the reason? Qinmu examined Yu Hei and Shu Yao's eyes once more, then inspected their ear canals. Only then did he reply, "This ointment is not poison, but a spirit medicine used to suppress excessive growth. The first spirit medicine I refined was meant to restore their damaged eye membranes and eardrums. However, since this was my first attempt at such refinement, the dosage was imprecise and its medicinal properties overly potent. If left unchecked, their eye membranes and eardrums would thicken, impairing their sight and hearing. Thus, a second medicine is required to suppress that growth." He stretched lazily, a smile blooming upon his face. Now they are nearly healed. Their sight and hearing will be no worse than before. Around them, the gods of Supreme Emperor Heaven exhaled in relief, their tension dissipating like mist under sunlight. Yu Hei and Shu Yao were the strongest experts of the Seven Stars realm within Supreme Emperor Heaven, and also the most promising among the younger generation to ascend to godhood. Had they been left blind or deaf, it would have been an irreparable loss. The deaths of Huang Yo and the others within the Sand Table world had already dealt them a grievous blow. Qinmu stepped forward and bowed deeply to Saint Woodcutter. Disciple Qinmu pays his respects to Patriarch. Saint Woodcutter extended his arms to lift him up, smiling warmly. You have received my teachings. Since I have personally instructed you, you are my disciple. There is no need to call me Patriarch. Qinmu was both astonished and overjoyed. If he became Saint Woodcutter's disciple, his seniority would soar. Should he encounter those old heavenly devil cult masters again, they would no longer be able to suppress him with their seniority. After a moment's hesitation, he probed carefully. Heavenly Teacher, have you heard of Heavenly Saint Cult? Heavenly Saint Cult? Saint Woodcutter was perplexed. He shook his head. I have never heard of it. Qinmu's complexion turned ashen, his spirit dimming like a candle in the wind. Saint Woodcutter truly did not know of Heavenly Saint Cult. Still unwilling to accept this, Qinmu pressed further. Then the sacred tree, left behind by Sacred Teacher, along with the Saint's Rock and the Axe Mark, do they hold any deeper meaning? That old locust tree still lives? St. Woodcutter exclaimed in surprise. After calculating briefly, he said, "It should be around 20,000 years old by now. Correct? I've chopped it countless times, yet it still survives. It may soon become a demon." Chinmu stammered, his voice trembling. "Sacred teacher? That's Saint's Rock?" "What Saint's Rock? Oh, you mean the rock I sat upon while imparting teachings? What of it?" It was as if thunder struck Chinmu's mind, scattering his thoughts into chaos. He muttered, "During grand festivals, our heavenly saint cult must kowtow to that Saint's Rock and the sacred tree. Only those cult masters and elders who have rendered meritorious service may have their ashes buried beneath the sacred tree." Saint Woodcutter shook his head disdainfully. "So many rituals? I despise etiquette the most. Could it be that this heavenly saint cult was founded by that disciple of mine? Your senior brother failed to learn the essence of my teachings and instead created countless rules. In clinging to rules, he lost sight of my true intent. Useless, useless, utterly useless. The disciple and senior brother he referred to was the founding master, a mysterious figure whom Chinmu had never encountered, even in Fengdu. That man had never set foot in Fengdu, and Chinmu had no knowledge of his whereabouts. Chinmu's expression flickered between darkness and clarity. The sacred tree and Saint's Rock, revered as priceless treasures within the cult, were nothing more than trivial objects in the eyes of Saint Woodcutter. If this truth were to spread, the entire heavenly saint cult, from the young patriarch to the past cult masters in Fengdu, would likely lose their minds. The black tiger god observed Chinmu's shifting expressions and opened his mouth, only to suppress his words. He thought silently, "My lord always scolds me and refuses to believe this brat's mental state is unstable. Yet in such a short span, his expression has changed more than a dozen times." True God Pang Yu stepped forward, inspecting Yuhi's eyes and ears, then Shu Yao's as well. Only after confirming their recovery did he speak in a low voice. "Little friend, Chinmu saved the two of you. Why do you not step forward to express your gratitude? It was also because he risked himself to lure the enemies that you were able to escape the Sand Table world. He eliminated 3 of them first." Yu Hei and Shu Yao trembled, exclaiming, "He eliminated 3 experts alone? Including Zhang Yi, it is 4. Pang Yu sighed. "Among the 10 devil experts, 4 perished at his hands, nearly half in an instant. If we add the one slain by the girl from Sangye's family, the 2 of them alone accounted for half the merit. The rest of you fought until 6 of you died, yet only managed to eliminate 4 enemies. The devil race is not to be underestimated." He shook his head, leaving the rest unspoken. Yu Hei and Shu Yao fell silent, exchanging bitter glances. 9 devils had died, 4 by Chinmu's hand, 1 by Sanghua's. That alone surpassed half the total merit. Meanwhile, Yu Hei and Shu Yao had each slain 1 devil and jointly defeated another. The remaining 6 human experts who died had only managed to kill 1 enemy with their lives. The devil's battle prowess clearly surpassed that of humans. Without Chinmu's unexpected intervention, the elite of their younger generation would have been annihilated entirely. Yu He and Shu Yao drew in shaky breaths, then approached Chinmu, who still appeared dispirited and dazed, and expressed their thanks. Chinmu quickly returned the courtesy, smiling brightly. "I was too focused on strengthening my flying swords and failed to introduce myself. My name is Chinmu. Chin, as in 2 men threshing grain, and Mu as in herding cattle. I greet senior sister Yu Hei and senior brother Shu Yao." The black tiger god watched his expression shift instantly from gloom to radiant joy and could not help but snort coldly. "My lord simply cannot perceive how swiftly this brat changes his face." Yu Hei and Shu Yao returned the greeting. Shu Yao said apologetically, "We looked down on senior brother Chin earlier, calling you a mere grain thresher and iron forger. We hope you will not take offense." Chinmu's expression grew solemn. "The character Chin indeed comes from 2 men holding pestles to thresh grain. I was not jesting. In truth, this little brother learned countless scripts and languages from my teacher, those of devils, dragons, Buddhas, Yudu, and even some divine tongues. At times, I am meticulous about wording. It is not mere showmanship." His expression has changed again. The black tiger god ground his teeth. "Yet my lord still cannot see it." Senior sister Yu Hei, senior brother Shu Yao. Chinmu's solemnity vanished, replaced by a smile as warm as spring breeze. His brows danced as he asked, "Have you heard of Heavenly Saint Cult? Truth be told, this little brother is its cult master. It was founded by my master, this very sacred teacher. You have seen him and know his wisdom and valor. The teachings of our Heavenly Saint Cult are profound and wondrous. The so-called path of the saint lies within the everyday lives of common people." After some time, Qin Mu exhaled in satisfaction, beaming at Yu He and Shu Yao, who had just joined his cult. "My sacred cult has extended its roots into Supreme Emperor Heaven. My fortune today is not bad. 2 future gods as hallmasters. Even if Saint Woodcutter denies knowing the cult, it matters not as long as he remains silent. Ah, and there is also Sister Hua." The Black Tiger god flicked his ears in boredom. "My lord still cannot see." Qinmu hurried toward Sang Ye and Sang Hua, yet was stopped by a throng of gods. They showered him with praise, and he could only respond humbly. Bathed in their admiration, his confidence surged, and joy filled his heart. "My lord still cannot see." The Black Tiger god flipped one ear forward and the other back. When the commotion subsided, the gods of Supreme Emperor Heaven swiftly departed to mobilize their armies and secure Li City before the devils could reclaim it. Sang Hua was also taken away by God Sang Ye, leaving Qin Mu sighing in regret. "Follow me. I have questions for you." Saint Woodcutter said. Qin Mu immediately followed. The Black Tiger god attempted to do the same, but Saint Woodcutter turned back with a glance, halting him in his tracks. The Tiger god could only turn his head aside. "Are you devil or human?" Saint Woodcutter asked once they reached a secluded place. "Though you have inherited my techniques, there remains a strange, devilish power within you. You appeared suddenly amidst the devils on the battlefield. Your actions are suspicious. Speak. Where do you come from?" Qin Mu hesitated briefly before replying. "Carefree Village." Saint Woodcutter turned sharply, his gaze piercing like a blade, as if seeking truth within Qin Mu's soul. Qin Mu remained calm. "I was not born in Carefree Village. My mother carried me when my parents fled. They encountered enemies, and I was ultimately born in Yudu. King Yama of Fengdu said that because of this, something unforeseen occurred, allowing the devil nature of Yudu to enter my body. My lord, his expression has become calm again, yet you still cannot see it even while staring at him." The Black Tiger god fumed in the distance. "You claim to be from Carefree Village? Do you possess any token?" Saint Woodcutter asked. Qin Mu quickly removed the jade pendant from his neck. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Even as Qin Mu slowly drew forth the jade pendant from his robes, his fingers trembled faintly, and he did not immediately remove it. His voice carried a trace of hesitation, like one treading upon thin ice. "King Yama once said this jade pendant suppresses the devil nature within my body, and it must not be revealed lightly to others. If it strays too far from me, calamity will follow." Saint Woodcutter merely shook his head, his expression calm as an ancient pine unmoved by wind. "With me standing at your side, what calamity could possibly descend? At most, trifling tricks, petty curses, or stray bolts of lightning. Such things are beneath notice." Qin Mu clenched his teeth, steeling his heart as if facing an unseen storm, and finally removed the jade pendant. "In the past, I have taken it off and shown it to the villagers. I have even shown it to Sister Jing. Nothing ill ever came of it. This time, it should be no different." Saint Woodcutter received the pendant, his gaze sharpened like a blade unsheathed, focusing intently upon its surface. After a moment, he gave a slight nod. "Indeed, this bears the mark of the founding emperor's bloodline. Yet this one is not quite the same as the others." His brows furrowed, as if sensing something hidden in the depths. "Within it lies a peculiar sealing formation. Could this be the formation that binds your devil nature? Someone once carried me out of Yudu and brought me into the great ruins. Granny C was the one who found me," Qin Mu said, his voice softening as memories stirred like ripples across still water. "Aside from myself, the basket, and the swaddling cloth, this jade pendant was the only thing left. The one who brought me succumbed to grievous injuries." His face dimmed like a waning moon as he continued. "Granny C is the saintess of the Heavenly Saint Cult, and it was she who raised me to adulthood. This pendant has always been with me. She and the others could find no use for it beyond pushing back the darkness of the great ruins, yet it was only sufficient to shelter an infant. Later, The village chief discovered it could guide us to Carefree Village, but that path was nothing more than a snare. It led me instead to Fengdu, where we encountered the devil god that lay in ambush beyond its gates. There are indeed deeper mysteries at play. Saint Woodcutter turned the pendant between his fingers, and his gaze gradually shifted, growing distant and strange, as if peering beyond the veil of worlds. This jade pendant does not merely guide one to Carefree Village. It can also lead into Yudu itself, for it was forged there. Moreover, the one who created it was exceedingly powerful, perhaps even surpassing me. How curious. Such a formidable seal. What could it be restraining? A flicker of curiosity ignited within his eyes, like a spark before a blazing inferno. If I suppress the sealing formation within this pendant, I may uncover what lies sealed within. Anticipation surged through Chinmu's heart like a rising tide. When King Yama had attempted the same, he had fallen into unconsciousness and witnessed nothing of the aftermath. He longed to know what lay sealed within the pendant, and what fate would be unleashed should it be opened. Saint Woodcutter studied his expression, his brows knitting as he muttered to himself in indecision. After a moment, he abruptly returned the jade pendant to Chinmu's hands. The young man was left bewildered. The one who forged this pendant is immensely powerful, likely among the most formidable existences within Yudu, Saint Woodcutter said slowly. That realm is shrouded in mystery. Even the founding emperor could not fully discern how many experts dwell within it. This pendant remains by your side for a reason. It is best not to probe too deeply. Since King Yama warned that it must not leave your body, you should heed his words. Though curiosity gnawed at him like a persistent flame, he restrained himself. Chinmu could only accept the pendant once more, placing it back around his neck as before. By now, numerous divine arts practitioners from Supreme Emperor Heaven had already entered Lei City, mending shattered structures and rebuilding the city's defenses. Chinmu swept his gaze across the surroundings, yet he saw no sign of weapons such as the True Origin Cannon or the Sunshot Divine Cannon, though the divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven possessed formidable abilities. Surpassing those of eternal peace in raw strength, their mastery of algebra was sorely lacking. Weapons like the True Origin Cannon demanded profound mathematical attainment. These practitioners simply could not forge them. Even if Chinmu were to draw the blueprints and present them, it was unlikely they could succeed. Only the Eternal Peace Empire, with its countless experts proficient in algebra, possessed such capability. How did you come to Supreme Emperor Heaven? Saint Woodcutter asked. Chinmu recounted the tale of how he had altered the sacrificial method of blood sacrifice, exchanging himself for a devil general, and thus transporting himself into Supreme Emperor Heaven. Saint Woodcutter shook his head, his tone tinged with reproach. Reckless indeed, trading your life among enemies? Were you not afraid of death? Chinmu inhaled deeply, his expression resolute as iron. If it means defeating First Ancestor Human Emperor, then the risk is worth it. Sacred teacher, can you teach me how to become a young true god? Saint Woodcutter paused slightly, caught off guard. You seek to become a young true god, to defeat that deserter of the Hall of Human Emperors? Chinmu nodded with unwavering determination. Saint Woodcutter smiled faintly. You do not know his origins? Chinmu blinked in confusion. You and he are alike, both surnamed Chin, and both my disciples. Furuluo calls me heavenly teacher, one who follows the laws of heaven. In truth, I am merely a teacher. Under the founding emperor's command, I once instructed the imperial princes, and among them was that very deserter. Saint Woodcutter walked toward the eastern city gate of Lei City, his steps steady as he drifted through memories long buried. His gaze grew distant. That prince possessed extraordinary talent and comprehension beyond compare. Yet when catastrophe struck and the celestial heavens fell, he feared death and fled. By chance or fate, he saved a group of people and came to be revered as the human emperor. I too survived, and he visited me many times, but I refused to meet him. Later, I became a stone statue, while my primordial spirit wandered the world in search of answers. Since then, I have not seen him again. If you wish to defeat him, it will be exceedingly difficult. Chinmu's fists clenched tightly, his voice ringing with unyielding resolve. But sacred teacher must have a way, right? Saint Woodcutter began ascending the towering city wall. The towers of Lee City had been constructed to immense heights to defend against devil invasions. Climbing one was akin to scaling a mountain. I once taught him. Among all the princes, his aptitude and comprehension were unmatched. Any divine art he learned, he mastered instantly. A single insight of his equaled 100 of others. He respected his teachers and valued their teachings. Though I despise his cowardice, I still admire him greatly. If you wish to defeat him, relying on my instruction alone will not suffice. Saint Woodcutter ascended step by step like an ordinary mortal, refusing to employ any divine art. Though I am called Heavenly Teacher, my combat strength was never the greatest. At best, I stood at a middling level among my peers. Even if I teach you, you will not surpass him. Besides, he smiled faintly, have I not already taught you? Chinmu froze. What he referred to were the teachings carved upon stone. By all logic, Saint Woodcutter had indeed taught him. Yet Chinmu felt indignant. This was not the instruction he sought. Saint Woodcutter clearly possessed more powerful divine arts. On the battlefield, Chinmu had encountered Fu Yuxiao and nearly lost his life. Had it not been for Saint Woodcutter demonstrating a single move for him to comprehend and escape, he would have perished. If such profound arts existed, why withhold them? Chinmu longed to learn techniques that would elevate him into a young true god, methods to unify his corporeal body and surpass first ancestor human emperor within the same realm. He wished to grind him into the earth, shatter his bones, make him cough blood, force him to kneel and beg forgiveness, until he kowtowed before the spirits of past human emperors. If I teach you my divine arts, you will not strain your mind to comprehend Calamity Sword. Unlocking Calamity Sword is a wondrous path, but it is not one I can hand to you. Saint Woodcutter reached the top of the city tower and sat down, patting the stone beside him. Chinmu sat upon the cold surface. Turning back, he saw the Black Tiger god standing below, unwilling to ascend. The divine arts I possess are all recorded within the scriptures. If you comprehend them with your heart, they will become yours. Those scriptures themselves were passed to me by the founding emperor. I learned too many things, too varied, too scattered. Even after receiving the founding emperor's supreme arts, I could not advance further. Thus, I remain only at a middling level among gods and devils, Saint Woodcutter said calmly. In time, I realized learning too much may not always be beneficial. Come, let us watch the sunrise. Sunrise? Chinmu glanced toward the horizon, and his eyes twitched violently. A fractured sun was slowly radiating crimson light, its warped form piercing his vision. His face darkened instantly, and he turned away in haste, suppressing the discomfort rising within him. Beside him, Saint Woodcutter's face also turned black as he lowered his head. The sunrise of Supreme Emperor Heaven left both men restless, as though seated upon needles. Chinmu, master of the heavenly devil cult and a prodigy of algebra, had honed his craftsmanship under Old Ma, striving for perfection in all things. Even the furniture crafted by Granny C had been refined further by his hands. How could such a grotesque sun in the heavens be tolerated? Within the heavenly devil cult, the Craftsman Hall and Heavenly Works Hall upheld the strictest standards, deriving their principles from the great educational heavenly devil scriptures, scriptures imparted by Saint Woodcutter himself. One needed no further thought to know his attainments in algebra were extraordinary. The practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven took pride in the suns forged by their gods. But to these two, they were nothing more than an eyesore. Another sun slowly brightened in the sky, the twin orbs hanging motionless. Saint Woodcutter's eyelids twitched as he resisted the urge to look upward. The people of Supreme Emperor Heaven have long forgotten the essence of craftsmanship. The god who forged these suns is said to be called Sun Forger, Chinmu muttered, keeping his head lowered. Bah! Sun Forger? I know that fellow, Saint Woodcutter scoffed. He was nothing more than a chef in the celestial heavens. Chinmu was stunned speechless. Saint Woodcutter rose to his feet. The path to becoming a young true god must be forged by your own understanding. What I teach belongs to me. What you comprehend belongs to you. I can guide you to the gate, but the path beyond must be walked by yourself. He lifted his gaze toward the distant horizons. To the south, west, and north of Lee City, Devil Chi surged like massive cauldrons, blanketing heaven and earth. I came to Supreme Emperor Heaven to prevent the devils from completing their sacrificial rites. Fu Riluo is a capable commander. He withdrew because he lacked the strength to face my sudden arrival. But when he returns, it will be with a devastating strike that shakes the world. Qinmu's heart trembled as he asked urgently, "Can Supreme Emperor Heaven withstand it?" Boom! The earth quaked violently. Qinmu turned toward the source. On a distant battlefield, countless divine arts practitioners were piling corpses of devils and humans alike into towering mounds. Suddenly, the ground depart, and immense sacrificial altars rose from the earth. Blood sacrifice glowed and crimson beams shot into the sky. Within them, towering stone statues began to form. Boom! Boom! The tremors intensified as more altars emerged. Scarlet pillars of light surged upward like heaven-piercing towers, and stone statues manifested upon each altar. Qinmu's heart surged with urgency as he turned to St. Woodcutter, awaiting his answer. "We cannot," St. Woodcutter said, his words falling like cold rain upon blazing hope. "At best, we can only delay them for a time."